Now, you are a mobile mentor. Yes. What does that involve?
Well, we buy a lot of technology nowadays, in particular the mobile stuff. We've got iPads and smartphones. But what I found is that while we're good at buying it, we're not actually very good at using it.
Yes.
And a lot of the technology companies assume that you know, and so people need someone who can kind of translate for them, actually make it understandable and help them to make the most of technology.
And there are a lot of apps and there's probably a million things that your phone can do that you literally don't know.
And people get overwhelmed because you've probably had it. Cath, you've got to go on this website, you've got to try this app. And you go on and yeah, they might be fun, but are they actually what you need?
Yeah.
And the problem is that because they get overwhelmed, they tend to do nothing rather than actually think about it sensibly.
Yeah. I'm sure my phone does things that I've no clue what they are.
Absolutely. Great example. I was going to the comedy festival last week and Dr. Hook was on, so there wasn't much parking, went to a very dark car park. In the middle, you had to get your ticket and there was no lighting. So there were women there who had their phones, but just on normal front and were trying to see what was happening. And I said to them, have you got an iPhone? They said, yes. Do you realise you've got a torch on there?
Oh.
Had no idea.
Yeah.
And you can just flick it up without even logging in, click on there, there was a torch, she could see what she was doing.
Oh, how cool.
People don't know. So people don't even know the basic features that are already on their phones for free, let alone what they could do personally and for their businesses.
Well, actually, to make it work, you just need to give it to a child, don't you?
Yes, but you actually need to know yourself.
No, I know, absolutely. So give us an idea of some of the things that we could be doing, perhaps in our business, if we knew how our mobile technology worked properly.
Businesses are really important because what tends to happen is that people get very nervous about technology. And you get people who come and talk to you, like Microsoft. They say, oh, you've got to go on 365. 365 is one element, but if you want to mobilise your business, you actually need to stop, think about what you do every day, and then work out how you can integrate things so that you actually systemise your business. Yes. It's so good when you do it. We've been helping a tradesperson, and he goes out and he sees people, he gives quotes, and then he comes back and he does a quote and he puts it into his accounting system, and he'd quite like to do mail-outs, but doesn't because it's too complicated. And often what happens is he writes down the information, but then never uploads it. He never puts it into his computer. So now what he can do is he can go out and then using this particular where forms are like an app, he can fill in the form, he can take photos, he can draw on the photos, get the client to sign off, he can upload it, it goes into his accounting system, his CRM, into his MailChimp. He goes back to the office, it's also uploaded into a quote, checks it, emails it to the client, it's all done, and he doesn't have to worry about updating his account system. Right. That saves him time, money, but people tend to do things in bits and it's not very efficient. Right. So what I want to do is not only help people like you to understand your mobile phone, but to go in and talk to businesses about how you work out your systems and then use mobile devices to make it work. Because to be honest, a lot of businesses in New Zealand have no systems, and some of them think their business is going to fund their retirement. If you haven't got a systemised business, that's not going to happen because people need to be able to come in, take over, and just do it right from scratch. And if you can't do that, you've got a job with a lot of paperwork.
So a systemised business will help you save time and money?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And how did you get into this whole arena?
It started when I was running community education with Rangitoto College. And I started to realise that there were a lot of people who were working who were never updating their computer skills. And in fact, some of them had no idea how to use a computer. They fudged day to day, but had no idea what you could really do.
Because it's hard to keep up. I mean, the pace of technology is insane.
It is. But the trouble was, as well, is a lot of bosses couldn't use computers. So when they saw a secretary who could type fast and was very organised, they assumed that she knew it all. Never gave them an opportunity to upgrade. So I started stirring things up a bit and asking questions. And then that's where I ended up writing the book that I came out with a few years ago called Beneath the Knowledge Wave. Yes. And that was stories, and it was about the danger of assuming people know what you're talking about. And it had lots of stories about the disasters that people can get into. And it was good. It really did stir some interesting conversations.
And why do you think that book was so popular?
When I did it, I actually had little boxes with stories in. And I did it very, very simply. So it was men, women, education, small businesses. So that it was quite short. Yeah. People put it on the coffee table. People would pick it up and they'd go, oh, that's me. Or I know someone who does that. And that was what started the conversations.
Yeah. Now listen, before you go, what practical little tips can you give us to get working and using our mobile technology better?
One of the best things, and it's not actually so much using as protecting, make sure you've got a password on your phone. So many people don't have it. It's really simple. Whichever phone you've got, go into settings, there's a thing for security, and it lets you set a password up. If you don't have one on your phone and you drop your phone, you've dropped your life.
Yes.
Someone else can pick it up and they can find everything about you. Have you got one on yours? No. Right, okay. Your mission for today is to go home and put one on your phone. It is really, really important. The one I love of apps is the Met Service one. I'm a house sitter, so I look after lots of dogs, and it actually shows you the rain radar. So you can see the weather forecast, click on the bottom, it will show you the clouds coming over. You can work out your dog walk by just, checking, oh yeah, okay dog, we can go and have a 20-minute walk before it rains. And it works. That's
brilliant. But Pam, I don't decide when we walk. Roxy decides when we walk.
Well, sometimes when it's raining, they tend to look out and go, not too sure. So if you can time it where they don't get wet, they do quite like it.
Yeah, brilliant. Listen, thanks for all your tips. And I will take a good long hard look at my phone when I get home tonight. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.